name is Martinique Brown, and I am the owner and founder of Today I Want to Be. We are solving the problem of kids and youth not seeing someone who looks just like them in a variety of career fields. We are a career exploration resource for parents and educators, and through our interactive products and virtual interviews, kids and youth are able to see representation of their race and gender in career fields that they may not even know about. With every product we create, from our educational aids to our apparel and accessories, we are intentional about encouraging and helping kids and youth see that they can become anything they want to be. We are the only company who not only focuses on career exploration for kids and youth, but we also give them an opportunity to ask professionals about their careers every month during our free live virtual interviews as student co-hosts. If you are looking for a company that is dedicated to helping your child or student see that they can become anything they want to be, make sure you visit todayiwanttobe.com today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of Today I Want to Be Career Exploration interview. I'm so excited that you guys have decided to tune in to the show today. I'm really excited about our co-host as well as our feature professional. Now, our feature professional is actually my cousin, Dr. Don Long. I'm used to just saying like, what's up, cuz? How you doing, cuz? But I'm really excited about our co-hosts as well. We have Jaina, Asha, as well as Hanaya. And so I'm really excited that we are going to be able to have a better understanding of an actual doctor. Now, typically we talk to a doctor when something is wrong, but no, this show is actually going to give students and as well as your child an ability and the opportunity to ask Dr. Long a lot more questions about his career field. So without further ado, I'm going to have Jaina talk to us a lot more about what Today I Want to Be actually is, as well as really just get the show started. So Jaina, take it away.
Hello, everyone. So, this show was created to help kids and youth explore different career fields from professionals who look just like them. So, if your child enjoys interviewing people, or maybe they want to learn something new about a career, then Today I Want to Be is perfect for them. Your child can become a student co host by clicking the link in the description box next to the star. And if you are interested in purchasing any of the Today I Want to Be career exploration products for your home or classroom, then please click the link in the description box next to the card. So this show is interactive, so make sure your child or student posts their questions and comments in the comment field to ask Dr. Long questions. If you are tuning in from any other page than our YouTube channel, Today I Want to Be Facebook pages, Today I Want to Be, or Martinique Y. Brown, then please tune in to one of those pages so we can see your questions and comments. Also, don't forget to share this episode now so that more people know about Today I Want to Be and our featured professional. All right, so let's get started. Hello, Dr. Long. How are you today?
I am doing well. Hello.
That's great. So, could you please tell us more about yourself?
Well, I'm from originally from Hamilton, Ohio. I attended Ohio State University, where I played baseball and went to medical school. And now I live and work here in Cincinnati, Ohio.
And it's the Ohio State
Yes,
University. They get
yes,
on us
it's
so
the.
much.
I'm sorry. Don't let that go out.
Right.
All right, so I have a question for you. So,
Oh,
what?
before we get started, Jaina, before we get
Oh,
started, we got our co-host.
oh yes.
So
We have our co-hosts Asha and Hanaya, and so I'll let Asha go first. So, what grade are you in? What age are you? And what do you want to be when you grow up?
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Asha. I'm 19 years old. I'm a freshman in college, not a freshman in high school. And I want to be a sports medicine physician.
Oh,
Nice.
wow.
Yeah.
That sounds great. So, Hanaya, what grade are you? What age are you? And what do you want to be when you grow up?
I'm in 10th grade in high school, and that was obvious. I'm sorry. Anyways, I'm 14, and when I grow up, I want to be a surgeon. I'm leaning towards neurosurgery, but I don't know like what field I want to be for sure.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Well,
that
you are
sounds
on the
cool.
right show.
Yes.
And then also, Jaina, if you could just
Impressive.
let our viewers know as well, what are you interested in being when you grow up, as well as what grade you're in?
Okay, so I am in the 8th grade, and what I want to be when I grow up is an actress, a singer, and a dancer.
Nice, nice, nice.
Love it.
And I'm so excited to also really just have a better understanding of what our professionals do. And then I'm really also excited to definitely have Jaina really conduct our interview. And then I'm really excited about Asha and Hanaya being interested in going into that medical field and specifically being able to ask Dr. Long questions. So go ahead, Jamie.
All right. So my first question for you is, what do you do? Like, are you medical? Do you do surgery, or what do you do in your doctor?
Well, as a physical medicine and rehabilitation doctor, we are surgically trained. We do a lot of musculoskeletal orthopedics. When we're trained, anyone that has a spinal cord injury or a fracture or any type of limiting injury, we're
Mhm.
involved in getting them back to normal. We also do a lot of testing, nerve testing. It's called an electrodiagnostic study, and we do that as well. So it's a lot of stuff we do as far as just kind of figuring out how to get someone better and get them back to where they need to be to get back to work or get back to the field or wherever they need to be.
Oh wow, that sounds very cool. My brother, he wants to be a doctor as well. So I'm not really sure what field he wants to be in, but I think that is great for those who like surgery. Like Hanaya, she said she wanted to do something with surgery,
Oh,
and
yeah.
that's a lot of work. Like, did you have to go to any medical school to like get to that point in your life?
Yes, you go to a 4-year school, and it doesn't really matter what your major is, but I always recommend that you major in something that gives you a good background in STEM, the sciences. And then you go to medical school, normally for 4 years. And depending on what specialty you want to go into, it's either a 3-year residency or up to a 10 or even 12-year residency, depending on what training you want to do.
Oh, okay.
Yes, but it's extensive sometimes.
Oh, wow.
So now, Dr.
So,
Long, I actually I noticed that you said we are also taught to do surgery. Does that mean you also do surgery or you don't do surgery?
I don't do any surgery anymore. We're trained as part of our training. We go through all the specialties: neurosurgery, orthopedics, general surgery, trauma, and we do rotations. And then you can subspecialize your 4th or 5th year,
Mm-hmm.
and you do some surgery there as well. You're mostly doing just assisting in procedures with those specialists. But then at some point, if you want to continue on and do a fellowship, you can continue to do surgery if you like. But most in my field don't go into the surgery part. You just have to be aware of how those procedures work in order to do your job.
Okay. Okay. So you more so would recommend somebody to
Yes.
the surgeon if they needed that work done.
Yes. If they needed something done, like a fixation for a broken arm or some spinal injury, we would recommend you to the proper neurosurgeon like Anaya or one of the
Okay.
sports medicine docs that get you back on your feet.
Okay. 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 So you can go ahead with your first question, Asha.
Okay, my first question for you, Dr. Long, is what motivated you to work with patients who have neuromuscular diseases?
It's a fairly simple story. My grandmother, who Martinique knows,
Mm-hmm.
one of the sisters, she had a stroke, and we took care of her when I was in high school. And I just seen a lot of the work that went into getting her as normal as possible, but it also involved the family too, how we had to assist in her care. We had to know, how to feed her, how to walk her, and those things impacted me. When I went into medical school, I knew I wanted to go into a field that I could be hands-on with getting people back to full functioning. I didn't just want to do something and see them for 10 minutes and I'm done. I really want to be involved in the long-term process.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So go ahead with your question, Hanaya.
So, I noticed you said that you played baseball at Ohio State, and I just wanted to know if you went to Ohio State knowing that you wanted to go to medical school, or you went there for baseball and just ended up studying medicine.
Good question.
Good question. Uh, Let me be honest and say at 18, I was going there to play baseball. I was a pretty good student. I was a National Merit Award winner, and I kind of used that to pick a school out, the biggest school I could play baseball at, because they didn't cost them a scholarship. So he's like, hey, come on, you and your brother can play here. But when I got to Ohio State, I kind of found out that I wasn't going to the pros. That wasn't going to happen. So I said, hey, I better figure out what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. And that's when I started to get serious about school again. I was actually in engineering, and just
Oh, wow.
very difficult field to do, and be a full-time student athlete was just really difficult. So by the time my senior year rolled around, I made the decision to kind of just do the student thing. But baseball was fun.
But okay, so are you saying that but you had to choose a major at when you was in college? What major did you choose?
Chemical engineering is what I chose.
Okay.
That was my fallback plan.
But did you graduate with that degree?
I graduated with a degree in biology, criminology. I had 3 undergraduate degrees because I was just kind of flying all over the place and taking a bunch of classes at one time. So I wasn't really focused on one thing. I would just say, hey, I know I like this, and I just took the classes, and they say, okay, here, you got to leave now.
Yeah,
you're done. So the engineering was a little difficult. I was there direct and roll, and it was so much of my time that I just couldn't do that. And I don't think I was fully focused at all either at 18 either. So but I ended up graduating with chemistry and biology and a whole bunch of other stuff. So
okay, so then you started taking care of your mother or grandmother?
My grandmother. Yeah.
Okay, so
that
then
was
you started
high school.
Okay, so that was in high school.
Yes.
Okay, so then, but what grade, or were you already graduated when you said, okay, I want to become a doctor?
I think in high school, I actually that crossed my mind. That was what, it wasn't a direct thing like, oh, I'm going to be a doctor when I go to Ohio State.
Okay.
But I knew I wanted to be in some field that I had some impact.
Now,
go
ahead. And no, you go.
No, I was just saying that when I got to Ohio State and started seeing some of the medical professionals, I was like, well, this, I didn't know if I wanted to be a therapist or, but I knew I wanted to help someone, but I didn't know it was medical doctor. I didn't know that.
And I know that some students are going to watch this and they are in the same place that you are. What encouraging words would you say to them? Because I know that when I was in high school, some of the girls that I hung around, they knew what they wanted to do. They knew they wanted to go to college, but when you're that student and you have no idea exactly what field you want to go into, what would you say to them? Because they're kind of like how you were.
Just I would tell them specifically, be patient, keep an open mind to all the things that interest you when you get there, because you're going to take a lot of prerequisite courses, and just be honest with yourself. This is something I like, this is something I don't like. And just kind of go through your lessons and kind of say, okay, I think I'm more of a science person. I think I'm more of a sociology person. But you figure out what you do like, and then kind of figure out, narrow down what type of fields within that type of class or my interest, where do I go with this now? But be patient when you do go. Some people just, you don't know, but it's a good place to find out. When you get to college, it's a great place to find out.
Definitely. So now, are there many Black doctors that treat muscular disorders like you do?
There's not a lot of, it's a small specialty. Physical medicine is not a large specialty. When it comes to some of the subspecialties, we are fairly new, beginning in the 50s and 60s. It's always been a part of orthopedics and surgery, but as a subspecialty, it was something that kind of developed in the 60s. And there is probably less than, I would say, 5,000 African Americans in this field.
Wow,
Yeah,
that is so crazy.
yeah, it's not a
Especially
lot.
millions of Black
Yes,
people.
yeah, yeah. Usually you go into internal medicine or something, they get pulled into family medicine, and it is a very difficult field to match. Once you get through college and you get through medical school, you have to graduate in the top 10 or 5%, depending on you. It's a very competitive residency as well. So
Mhm.
that affects people as well.
So now, because you didn't see a lot of people like yourself, how did you stay encouraged that you could do it?
I think the blessing for me, I met a very impactful person early on in my medical school career. Actually, it's an interesting story. My wife worked with her husband at the Supreme
Mhm.
Court,
Okay.
and we were invited to a Christmas party. And I sat down, I talked to her, and she was like, "Wow, where do you go?" I said, "Well, I'm in medical school at Ohio State." And she was like,
Mhm.
and she was just interested. So, a Caucasian woman. She was
Okay.
a family practitioner, but she wasn't practicing. She was actually the president of U.S. Health Corporation at the
Okay.
time. And we sat and talked, and she said, "Hey, I need to get more of you together." And I was like, "What do you mean more of us together?"
Mhm.
She's like, "You said, well, how many Blacks are in your medical school class?" I said, 5 out of
Okay.
210. And she
Wow.
said, "Do you think that's a problem?" I said, "Yeah, that's a problem."
Mhm.
And she said, "Well, that's what we need to get together and discuss." And as we sat there and got my classmates and some of the classmates behind me, it kind of evolved into something where we actively changed Ohio State.
That is
And
so
that's
good.
it is a story, because now Ohio State was the first medical school to have a majority of female uh, students in a class. That's never been
Mm.
done before. They've had 50% minorities in a class, which I thought would never happen at Ohio State
Mhm.
University.
Mhm.
But I think the blessing is you have to meet people who are um, inclined to look at you as someone important in this field.
Mhm.
That's very difficult. A lot of times you'll meet, and Asha may find this in her college experience, where you don't have that mentor that can go over the test with you, that can discuss things in a way. It's not a professor student relationship, it's more of a friend mentor. It's very difficult to find mentors in medicine, and that's
Mhm.
something that we have and continue to change in medicine. So for
Mm.
me, it was meeting someone who wasn't like me, but had me get in touch with a lot of people who were like me, and help develop some things, some support systems from that. So that's where that happened.
Man, that's definitely a blessing of how that all worked out. Just think, what if you wouldn't have went to the dinner?
Ooh, life would have been totally different.
Yes.
We have a saying, and I will say her name, Dr. Stone, is very important to Ohio State. And we
Mhm.
had a thing, we had t-shirts made up, "Have you been stoned?" And everybody was
Mhm.
like, "What are y'all talking about? Y'all doing drugs?" Like, no, no, no,
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
You have to understand, this person is kind of impacting everybody. So it was
Yeah,
like, okay, we'll take your word for it. So
that's good.
yes.
All right. So that was really interesting to hear. I love that story. So, my next question for you is, how do you keep a balanced diet?
That has been a easier thing since the pandemic. uh, as an athlete, you get used to being told what to eat, what to drink. But then when you get to medical school, all that is lost. You're so stressed out that you actually have to keep in the forefront of your mind to take care of yourself.
Mm.
That means a balanced diet, rest, and things like that. And unfortunately, a lot of those things don't get carried over to your residency. You're working so many hours, you're so stressed out, you just eat whatever's available, usually junk food, a lot of stuff that's not good for you. But then when you get out into practice, what happened for me was my daughters, they are all athletes in college, and they came home and we started discussing plant-based diets and different things that I would tell my patients that I wasn't living. So it was a
Mm.
discussion of being, hey, we need to be honest, and hey, Dad, you need to do this and get your weight down, get more healthy. So a balanced diet for me now is more of a lifestyle. It's not something that I just do on Mondays. It's something we do every day,
That's
and it's
good.
so important. Yeah, it's so important.
Yeah, the reason also because I asked that is because my brother he does play basketball, and
Hmm.
sometimes he's a little boy, so he's not necessarily gonna be like, I'm just gonna eat my green beans. He's gonna be like, we have to like, Nathan, eat your green beans and eat your things that are healthy for you. We have to kind of remind him that he
Yeah.
needs to eat his healthy food so he can be energized to play basketball. So when the replay comes on, I want Nathan, my brother, to watch that
Hmm.
so he can learn that he needs to keep a balanced diet as well for when he plays
Yes.
basketball.
Yes. Because definitely you want to compete. You want to be at your best. And your diet
Yeah.
is about 90% of what you do in that field.
Yes.
If you have poor diet, you're going to have poor performance. So that is very important.
Mhm.
Yes. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome.
So
Dr. Long, I want
yeah.
to take it back to the topic of the percentage of African Americans. I want to ask you, how did you approach the idea of possibly being the only African American or amongst the few that are in your field?
I approached it with a lot of self-reflection. Who do I represent? When I got into physical medicine, like you stated, there wasn't a lot of people that looked like me. So I found those who were in the field, and I quickly formed some of those support systems, those mentorships, to kind of find out what are the difficulties they face with their practice. Um, those are the things that you really have to focus in on before you actually go out into the world. You're not going to see a lot of faces like yours professionally. Sometimes it impacts the way people look at you when you go into the workplace. How do you discuss things with colleagues? Referrals, all those things kind of play a role. And the way I approach is making sure I communicated with everyone in the community, all the other doctors, regardless of if they were white, Asian, whatever. But just from a professional standpoint, making sure I understood you're getting the best doctor, not the best Black doctor,
Mm.
but the best doctor. And that was the first thing I put out there. And then after that, everything else seems to work itself out. You kind of lose oh man, that guy, well, I refer to him because he's good. But when someone comes along, like I said, who do you represent? You have to understand, I need to work hard, be on time, be punctual, and be knowledgeable and be able to communicate that. Since if the next person behind me looks like me, I want them to be viewed the same way.
Mhm.
Hey, this young lady's going to be good, rather than, oh, are they on some type of, um, set aside program or anything like that. So
Mhm.
we have to make sure we have to represent each other as well.
Now, one of the things that I heard one of my friends say, and he is actually a doctor,
Mhm.
was, and this was also something that the eye doctor talked about when Hanaya and I was interviewing him, was that some individuals of different ethnicities did not want them to treat them because they were Black. Have you ever had that happen to you? And if so, how did you handle it? And if you did not ever have that happen to you, what would you recommend someone do in the medical field that is
Okay.
faced with that?
I've had that experience on a few occasions. Once as a resident, where someone just flat out said, "I don't want you treating me. I don't trust you. I don't want you. I just, whatever reasons." I didn't go into details of why they spoke that way.
Mm-hmm.
So I kept it, my background, Martinica, I keep it God first.
Uh-huh.
So, we had a discussion. I told my superiors, hey, this person's uncomfortable, move on. But it's a little more difficult when you're practicing and you have someone in the community that says, I don't want to have a Black doctor or another Hispanic or someone, whatever ethnicity,
Mm-hmm.
and for whatever reason. But I think the way to handle it is to be very um, open with that person, kind of figure out what their fears are, actually what they actually feel.
Okay.
Some people may say that and it may be related to something unrelated to medicine, or, in any form or fashion.
Mm-hmm.
So, but once you break down the communication barriers, I think a lot of that opens up. And specific example, my private practice, someone who started out, I don't want a Black doctor, now see his entire family. So it's kind of
Really?
flipped on his head where he's person that's going out and getting other people, man, this doctor's the best in the world. And every once in a while I have to remind him. I said, man, when you first came here, you didn't want to see me. And he's embarrassed. Why? He's like, man, he can't put it into words, but
that's good.
And I said, well, that's usually the way it is. But now we communicate it. You kind of break down some barriers though.
That's good. That's so good. That's good. And that's very unfortunate that you had to experience that. But I'm really thankful that people like you in the medical field, and I don't know if you guys like learned this or like just maybe talking to other doctors as well and find out how you all handle it. But I'm thankful for being open to the conversation with him rather than just be like, all right, leave then,
I think that's inherent in medicine when you go through a medical training. As you're training, it's something that, you're going to deal with people who don't like you for whatever reason. And I think everyone, Black, white, red, whatever, when we go through that training, that's one thing I can say. I've had, gay, classmates, and they have to deal with their issues, and we all kind of approach it the same way. Hey, let's have a conversation about it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So go ahead with your next question, Hanaya.
I just wanted to know, what's the most common spinal injury that you see, and are there any tips that you can give us about like common spinal injuries that are easy to avoid that you see often?
The most common things we see are usually related to degenerative changes in the back. That's arthritis in the spine. When you see your grandmother saying, oh, my back's going out today, that's what she's talking about. And we do a lot of interventional stuff, fusions and injections and epidurals, but that's at the end of it. My recommendation for people who want to avoid back problems is it's multifactorial, but the first thing you want to do is exercise every day. Flexibility is key. The more you're flexible, the more you keep that blood flowing around your spine, you're strong, you have less back problems when you get my age. And so just take care of yourself, the things you guys have already done and continue to do. Exercise daily, take care of yourself. But some things are inherent you may not be able to avoid, but just be willing to go get help when things start to get painful.
Now, go ahead.
Can I ask a quick backup question to his?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
You said epidural. So epidurals aren't just for when women are having babies?
No, we use it as a general term. Epidurals is the epidurals you get when you have children. They're going into your spine and numbing you up and all that good stuff. When we refer to epidurals, what we're talking about is we're doing injections under what's called a real-time X-ray machine. And we're putting medication into joints, into nerves, but we're not going into the spinal cord like when you're having a baby. So it's a lot safer and you can have it more than once. So it's definitely an injection that it's very common. And it's not like the injections you get when you have babies. That's the first thing we try to explain. We're not going to be putting this needle into your spine directly, but it will be around your spine or the joints around your spine.
So is that a myth that I always heard that when you have like for women that's about to have a baby and they if they get an epidural, if they move, then they could be paralyzed. Is that a myth?
No, that's not a myth. I mean, there's definitely some inherent
Look at
dangers.
Anaya's face. She's looking like I am not having no kids.
There's definitely some inherent dangers with anyone sticking a 6-inch, 7, 8-inch long needle into your back. But often, now we have so much experience, we have so much technology. Some of the old ways that we did epidurals, we just bent over and somebody's just poking this needle directly into your back. Now they lay you down, put a nice little numbing medication. They got this machine over top of you, pops right in there, you're done. Okay. So it's a lot less risk involved, but there is still some risk involved. They're still there.
So just to be clear, epidural is just a general term for an injection.
Yes, when we say epidural in
Gotcha.
our field, we're just a general term. It's the injection in your back.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you feel that a person has to become comfortable with seeing blood in order to become a medical doctor?
Oh, no, not at all. Like the technology has gotten to the point now, you can go through medical school and never open up a body.
Really?
Everything's 3D, virtual. They have anatomy class, like where we had to do the old dissections. There's some people that don't even dissect at all.
Mm-hmm.
They've never even done it in their careers. It depends on what you want to go into.
Mm-hmm.
And then actually clarify for a lot of my surgeons out there who want to go into surgery, you're not going to see a lot of blood anyway, unless you're in trauma surgery when people come in and you're stopping
Really?
blood and doing things. But during the procedure, you see maybe a 2-foot wide area, a field of view.
Okay.
And you have all these towels laid out and the retractors and everything and suction and everything going on. But as far as the surgeon, you're looking down and you doing your specific little thing. And it's like, okay, this is tied off. We're done. You close up everything, wipe it down, you walk away, and it may be a couple bloody towels and that's it.
I'm
So
so happy you said that, because I know me, I was just like, I cannot even fathom being in the medical field just because I can't handle. I almost passed out when I saw my arm bleeding.
I think it'd be harder being a mom taking care of some babies throwing up than actually going to the surgery. That would be harder for me. Like, oh my goodness, what do we do? Yeah.
So, Dr. Long, finish this sentence for me. If your child enjoys blank, they should consider becoming a medical doctor.
If your child enjoys puzzles.
Why puzzles?
Puzzles to me is what you do on your own time, like for entertainment, but it's a type of entertainment, figuring things out, crossword puzzles, 3D puzzles, games, those are the kind of things that inquisitive minds, people that go into medicine do really well. They like to figure things out. So that's all you're doing is figure something out. So if you do those kind of things, your child should go into medicine.
That's good. That's
I
good.
feel exposed.
You're
talking
to me.
All of those things.
I was just my puzzle person. I'm telling you.
That's so funny.
Oh,
So,
I love it.
Wow, that is really cool. So my next question is, how do you stay motivated?
That's pretty easy. Actually, it's your patient feedback. It's the people you deal with every day. When people get better, even very slowly, this the thankfulness that people have for you, the gratitude. Those are the things that keep you motivated. It's like, well, every day you go in, it's like, man, this is not getting better, but at some point, this person may get to the point where it's, oh, I'm so glad I met you. I'm so glad I had this done, and every day you wake up, you figure, hey, I'm going to make a difference today in somebody's life. So that's the best part of it.
And what does continuing education look like for you? Because I don't want students to just think that, okay, well, I'm done with my residency and then that's it.
Oh, continuing education as a physician means just that. You have to continuously be educated. When you're done with your actual residency, you actually have a big exam a year after you've been out to get your board certification.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. And then after that, 5 years or 15 years down the road, you have to recertify. That's all been changing up.
Okay.
Now they're more concerned about, hey, staying on top of things. Just don't get in your little rut, in your little world. You're doing this, but it's new procedures coming out, new medicines. So we have to keep a certain amount of hours as far as continuing education to keep up with our certification, our boards, the requirements to practice. And it's easy to do. I usually do mines at home when I'm sitting here doing my emails at work or whatever. I go in and do some CMEs online, read a couple articles, but I schedule that time.
Okay.
Every day I'm gonna have an hour where I read some new article or just pick up a book or look at something that may impact what I do. I'm sorry, but as a physician, that's something you have to do lifelong.
So
It's
then
never over.
do you have to chart it that you've read this article? Like,
Oh yes. You have to actually have to input it in after you take a test or you read an article. They usually have questions, and it's based on what's called CMEs, or continuing medical education credits.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to have so many credits per year to be, I guess, in good standing.
Okay. And to
So
keep your license, right?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, to keep your license. So they'll hit you in the pocket first. They'll say, hey, look, if you want to continue making your paycheck, then you better keep on studying. You better stay up on top of everything. It's not hard to do because you get used to it as a resident. You're doing research and you're always involved in learning, but it never stops.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the good thing about medicine, and because you never get bored.
Okay.
You never get bored.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, Dr. Long. This is more of a personal question because
Yes.
I'm at this point in my life. What route did you take to become a medical doctor?
When I applied to medical school, I had to go. Actually, I have to tell you a story. Then my journey is a little different than most. I actually graduated from college and worked for 6.5 years.
Really?
I was doing medical investigations for the Social Security Administration. And I was like, well, me and my wife had just got married. We're expecting our first child. And that's when I had that meeting with Dr. Stone. And I was like, man, I think I'm going to go into medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like that. You know what? I'm going to do this right now. So I actually had to go back and do post-baccalaureate program where you just take classes within a medical program. And then they say, hey, look, you did pretty well. We'll consider you for admission the following year. So I took a pretty unusual route. And then when I got to medical school, I did something called problem-based learning. It wasn't even the traditional medical school at Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, it's very experimental. They had an independent track where you just went and did your own thing. Just went and picked some books up and learned on your own. Then they had the traditional track where you went in and to classes and lectures and all that stuff you guys are used to now. My track was we met in small groups, and from day one, you're a doctor, and we're going to learn everything we need to know about medicine. So we had to practice on each other. We did all the clinical stuff from day one. So for 2 years, we were all in the concept like, man, everybody should do it this way. It's much more fun.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to go into class every day. You're always learning something. And they found out that track, because the way it is set up, those students did so well that now I think it's more of a thing across the board. Everybody in the nation does it now. So that's the good thing. So my personal journey is very unusual. Don't do it that way. Graduate and go straight to medical school. But one of the biggest things about medical school and applying is the MCAT, and that's being changed as well. That used to be the big, huge test you had to take and score at a certain level to get in. Now I'm on the board of governors at Ohio State too, so I'm on the other side now.
Good.
Yeah. So what we're doing is kind of getting away from the testing, though. We're finding out people from all fields do really well in medicine.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't want somebody who's a good test taker, but not necessarily a good doctor. If you understand what I'm saying. Sometimes a standardized test doesn't really measure what it's supposed to measure. And
so you lose a lot of what? What was you about to say?
You lose a lot of good students that way. A lot of good applicants saying, I have a fraternity brother who's a neurosurgeon at Mayo Clinic. He's one of the top neurosurgeons in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Could not score high enough on his MCAT to get into medical school.
Mm-hmm.
And had to do a post-bac program and prove to them that, hey, I am a good student. He gets in, he graduates #1 in our class.
Wow.
Didn't lose a point all the way through for 4 years of medical school. And I've never seen anybody do that ever in my life. Because you get 88% in medical school, you like, woo, thank you. He was like 100% all the way through. And
That's
now
good.
he tells people every time he meets students, he says, I don't really care what your MCAT score says.
Mm-hmm.
Because it does not tell me at all what kind of student you'll be. So those are the evolutions we're facing right now in medicine. How do we actually get the good student, the person who's really dedicated? And you have to learn a lot of information. That is true. You have to learn a lot of information.
Mm-hmm.
But a test really doesn't measure that very well.
Well, I guess my question would be, well, how would you measure a person knows what they're doing if you do not have a test?
Well, you've been tested. Undergraduate's 4 years of test.
Right.
And how good are your grades? Now,
Okay.
did you get excellent grades in undergraduate, or did you just get by? Were you involved in clubs, community service? Were you involved in a sorority, a fraternity? Were you an athlete? All those things together tells me you're able to balance a hectic lifestyle,
okay,
and still do well in the classroom. That tells me more about you as a student than what you do as a test you can study for 4 weeks or whatever and take a test and ace it, and it's like, okay, but he's not a good student. He's just good at taking a test. So it's a very fine line, and the MCAT does well because most people do well in the MCAT. They're smart people. You wouldn't be applying to medical school if you weren't smart, but at the same time, it takes more than brains to get through.
Okay.
Yes.
And then also relating to people, like you can have like such a robotic doctor, like this man.
That's it. That's why we're getting away from that. That's definitely, we want more people who are communicators, because the world is more diverse now.
Yeah.
It's more open. And I love to see these faces, these young ladies right here hosting the show. This is what I see when I see medicine.
That's good.
Yes,
That's
this is
so
definitely
encouraging.
Oh my goodness. I'm trying to get them to Ohio State. I'm gonna get you there.
One word or another.
If you want to be a neurosurgeon, come to Ohio State.
I hear you.
Sports medicine option, come to Ohio State.
No pressures though. No pressure.
No pressure at all. But I'll be willing to write a letter.
That's what I'm talking about. Now that's what you need to be talking about.
Oh no, yeah. When it comes time, you just give me a call. We were talking about that.
Yeah.
I'll make sure I'll be in the interview. Like, hey,
right.
I don't know you now.
You can go ahead with your next question, Hanaya.
I'm sorry, sweetie. Go ahead, Hanaya.
Before I ask my question, there's actually statistics that show that like gifted people actually they don't do exceptionally on tests. Most of the time, some gifted people are very good on tests, but tests don't really test all the different kinds of intelligence because there's so many types. And
Excellent.
But my question is just that not only during your professional career, but even during medical school and your residency, what is the most interesting case that really like you think you'll remember for the rest of your career?
Oh man, there's been so many of them. I've had some interesting cases. The most interesting case is an intern. I was on trauma surge, and there was a young lady losing blood, and we didn't know what was the problem. I mean, we had literally hundreds of people trying to figure this thing out, and we're in the hallway talking about this case, and this old retiree, this gentleman probably hasn't practiced in 20 years. He's about 90 years old. He's there drinking his coffee. He's listening to us, and he's looking over. He said, "Hey guys, why don't y'all run the ultrasound machine over? We do an ultrasound on her leg." And we're like, "Why would we do that?" He was like, she has a anastomosis in her leg. And I'm like, "No, we did a CAT scan. We did an MRI." He said, No, son, you're gonna pick it up on that. Get the ultrasound over here, and we're gonna show you. So we all get over here and we're like, "Oh, okay." Run over, and we get the ultrasound machine. We put it down there, and was like, "Oh my goodness, man! Oh my goodness!" It's right. 5 seconds. It took 5 seconds to just do a local block. Somebody went in and fixed it right there right there bedside. Walked out of the hospital. Had been there almost 2 months trying to figure this thing out, and walked out. I was like, okay, that was different. that was very different, Yeah. So there's so many things that come up. You get the emotional stuff. You see people who you bring life into the world, and you see people leave, and both are equally as effective. It affects you greatly, I'll tell you that. So it's definitely some interesting things you'll see.
Now, Dr. Long, you said that you have a private practice, right?
Yes.
So now what that means is what?
Private practice means you are out in the community, either working with a group. Now, when you say private practice, it's a little bit variances to that, but you can work with I work with a multi-specialty group. So it's a large hospital associate system, Tri-Health.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I can say their name. And it's multiple professions, multiple specialties. So we have surgeons, we have primary care, we have all these different people. And we have a group of physical medicine doctors, 11 of us, that take care of 4 hospitals here in Cincinnati.
Okay.
And you can have a smaller, a private entrepreneurship where it's just you and maybe another partner,
Mm-hmm.
and you have your own building, you're doing your own thing. A little harder to do now. The way medicine is now with what we call, it's harder to do.
Okay.
You know, just referrals and things like that is much harder to be a private physician in that regard.
Okay.
Now private means you just work in a big, large group.
Okay.
But then there's academic medicine where you work in a teaching capacity at one of the universities. You do research and you see patients, but mostly research.
So does that mean that you said you work at 4 hospitals? So that means you would get an appointment and then you will go to one of these 4 hospitals.
What it means, we cover 4 hospitals, means that our rehab team at each of those hospitals, they have a spinal cord unit, a stroke unit, or some other surgery unit that we go in and supervise their rehab care.
Okay.
Now, the change in medicine has been, instead of having all these individual hospitals, they're building large freestanding rehab hospitals. All those patients come from the hospital, go to one location.
Mm-hmm.
Makes it a little more central, a little easier to take care of 70, 80 people a day than go out in all these different places. But that's usually the hospitals that we see our patients from. Either as outpatients, they refer to us, or in the hospital themselves, we see them there.
And I would think that it would be a lot more easier to get, I want to call them clients, but patients that way, as opposed to just being in your own private practice building and then having to go out and get patients.
It is. It's much more advantageous to be in a large group. You have an automatic referral system. The primaries refer to you. They need something done in this realm, they send it automatically to you. Your schedule's full. The biggest thing is the insurance. Liability insurance is much cheaper within a large group than if you're doing procedures and you're by yourself. That liability insurance is going to be very, very large. So that impacts how much money you make and what your risks are, because you're still a businessman. Even though you're a doctor, you still have to think in a business sense as well. So that's the unique thing about medicine.
And they teach you all of that stuff in college?
No. They teach you none of that. They teach you none of the business part in medical school or college. And you kind of figure it out as when you get out into practice, you're like, man, I didn't even know how I got paid when I got hired. I was like, so how do we get paid? They were like, oh, capitation. They were throwing all these numbers out. I was like, okay, so how do I get paid?
Yeah.
They were like, well, if you see this number of patients and this RVU and this right here, I was like, just answer me the question. How do I get paid? But after you get out, you start to kind of get knowledgeable about, okay, if I see this many patients, I'm doing procedures, certain things are billed at this level, certain things are billed at a higher level. And you start to get a feel of what you're supposed to make and what you should be making, what you can make, things like that. So the business part is definitely the hardest part to get, because you don't know anything. You just know how to do medicine. And the business part is the part that hits you the hardest and the fastest when you get out.
But with you saying that, okay, somebody like Asha, she's a freshman, she still has some time before she gets out. What should she be doing now? And like Hanaya, should they be like, okay, somebody wants to work in this field, this doctor, I should reach out. I should first maybe Google and find this doctor in this field, ask them if they can mentor me. Like, what should that person do?
I think the biggest thing is to find someone in the prospective field you want to go into and get a mentor. Someone who can guide you through the things that you're going to go through, they've already been through. You can eliminate some things that way, say, hey, avoid this if you can, take this class. And then when you do get to medical school, they say, hey, look, in your electives, the time that you can spend a month studying, go take some business things.
Okay.
We're all focused on, I want to do, oh man, I'm going to do some surgery. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And they're all the exciting things. And it's great. But go get that 1 month to say, okay, I'm going to go and learn about insurance.
Okay.
Yeah, how billing works for insurance. Sounds real dry and boring, and it is dry and boring, but you'll be very, very satisfied and glad when you get out and practice.
Mm-hmm.
I have a better idea of what's going on in the insurance part.
Yeah.
So that's one way to do it.
That's good. And before, since we're talking about mentors, just off the top of your head, what are 3 good questions a mentee should ask a prospective mentor to see if they are a good fit for them?
Okay. You first ask someone, are they seeing patients? Are they still a practicing physician? Some people may be retired. And it depends on what you're looking for. A retired physician may be able to spend more time with you and give you more insight because he's not seeing patients.
Mm-hmm.
But the flip side of that is he wouldn't be up on some of the newer things going on in medicine.
Mm-hmm.
So what I would suggest is a really good question to ask is, hey, are you interested in being a mentor?
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever mentored anyone before?
Mm-hmm.
And let them kind of give you some information, and they'll tell you, hey, I like mentoring students. We do this, and I have a program, and they'll let you know.
Okay.
That's probably the most important thing to ask. Do you want to be a mentor?
Yeah.
And and are you still actually actively involved in medicine? I think that's a good thing to ask too. Because even with the retirees, sometimes they're so far removed from some of the newer things. It's not a waste having a mentor in that realm, but at the same time, they can't direct you through that interviewing process or who to meet, who to talk to, what resource they are for studying. They won't have that at hand.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So, Janaya, you can go ahead with your next question.
All right. So I want to ask, how do you work in like emergencies? Like how do you have like a go plan? Like I'm going to do it 1, 2, 3, ABC. How do you work with that?
Yeah, well, emergencies, you're always prepared. That's the main thing. Be prepared. And it makes it a lot less stressful when you are in an emergency situation. My field, we don't deal with a lot of emergencies in the outpatient setting, but in the inpatient setting, there's a tremendous number of emergent things, especially with spinal cord patients. You're dealing with people with falling blood pressures and strokes and bleeds and things like that on a daily basis. So trust your team, understand that these people that you work with, they may not be doctors, but they're very knowledgeable. Some of those nurses have been there 30 years. They know a lot of stuff. Some of those technicians, they may not be doctors, but they know a lot of stuff. So you trust the people you work with, and be prepared and practice. I mean, actually, when you have time to yourself, go through things that, hey, this may come up when I go in tomorrow, and actually study what will I do. And that'll be something you do all through medical school and residency. So that is definitely something that's just hammered away at you. You'll be ready.
So I know Jana actually talked about emergencies. Are you on the clock 24/7?
I am. For my patients, I am. When I first got down here, I was on the clock for other patients throughout the hospital system. It's a little different everywhere you go. And that's why I say it. Physical medicine is it's unique. We're specialists. You can be in the hospital setting where you're on call a lot, where they call you 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. Me personally, I cover my patients. It's usually 8 to 5. If there's anything at night, they can call me an emergent thing. But if it's not an emergency, they can go to the emergency room. They'll contact me from the emergency room. Say, hey, Dr. Long, your patient's over here. What do you want us to do? And so someone's taking care of them, but I kind of direct what they will need to do. You don't get a lot of calls. And actually, physical medicine is called plenty of money relaxation, though. So take that.
Yeah. So actually, you can go ahead with your next question.
I just want to ask, what's the hardest part of your profession?
Oh, good question.
The hardest part is being patient when I'm confronted with something I don't know. As you get older, you kind of fall into thinking you know everything or seen everything. And every day somebody humbles you. You come in, it's like, man, I don't know what's going on. But being honest enough with that patient to tell them, I don't know. And that's hard for a doctor to say, because you're expected to know everything. And everybody's like, well, you don't know. Why am I here? You say, no, I don't know now, but I'll figure it out. And so that's the hardest thing for me. My personality is to be honest and say, hey, I don't know what's wrong with you right now. And I think a lot of young doctors need to kind of get that perspective, because sometimes they'll lie. Oh, I know what this is. And you don't know, just say you don't know. That's fine. Doesn't make you a worse doctor. Just makes you human.
So what do you do though in that situation? Do you just give them some medicine to just help the pain maybe they're experiencing, and then
no, we let them know
out?
we have a game plan. Hey, somebody comes in with some unusual weakness, neurology's worked them up. There's not a stroke, but they can't move their arm. I say, hey, look, we don't know what this is yet, but here's our game plan. We're going to do a nerve test on you. We're going to look at the brachial plexus. Going to look at all these nerves in your arm. We're going to look at this. We're going to get some imaging, and we're going to put the pieces together. And most patients, as long as you tell them, hey, we have a game plan to get this figured out, there'll be patients. You go through all that stuff. It may be 5 different things or 2 different doctors involved, but there'll be patients say, okay, well, we're getting things worked out. But the most important thing, I think, in that whole realm is let that person know, hey, you're safe. It's not something we need to figure out right now. If it is something we need to figure out right now, we're going to be in the hospital doing it. But out here in my office, if I don't know what it is and it's not going to hurt you, we'll take our time. We'll get it figured out.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
So go ahead with your next question, Hanaya.
So you said you're on the clock 24/7 for your patients, and you said, I think it's 70 to 80 a day, right?
Maybe 30 patients a day.
30, okay. But how do you balance your work life with your home life, being on the clock 24/7?
Anaya, that is an excellent question, and that is probably the primary reason I chose the field I did. When you're in a orthopedic surgery residency or a field, you are working 7 days a week. Your neurosurgery, you're working 7 days a week almost. You're in the hospital a lot. My field, I actually, we see a lot of office things from 7 to 3 or 7 to 4, 7 to 5, and I go home. When I leave, I'm done. I usually got a lot of weekends off, so I got to see my kids go to practice, go to games, travel. So it's definitely a lifestyle involved with whatever specialty you go into. Some specialties you won't have that weekend. As a resident, you never have that weekend. Believe me, you'll work 32-hour shifts like it ain't nothing. Yeah, that's the real. They've cut that back. That's not true anymore. I don't let me tell you a lie. But once you get out in private practice, you can kind of have a little bit more leeway on how you want to live your life, sweetie. If you want to go out and work 7 days a week, you can. But if you want to work 3 days a week, like in my group, we work actually 4 days a week. We have one office day. So there's one day. If you want to take a Monday or Friday off, you got a 3-day weekend every day, every weekend. It's up to you. But involved in that office day, you have to kind of take care of paperwork and all that stuff. So you end up filling up everything anyway. But the best thing about my job is I go home and I get to go and see my kids play sports, go to programs like this. I get to do all that stuff and not have to feel guilty.
Yeah. So now, Dr. Long, what would you tell your younger self?
I would tell my younger self, is this like in high school or just?
Let's say high school.
High school, I would say, hey, take school more seriously from the very beginning. Stick to your game plan, and don't get so caught up in the social part of college. Because I think as a freshman, I went in, and Martinique, I started pledging my fraternity and doing all that stuff. I kind of just, a lot of stuff I did was like, Asha knows, just like some things you get away from the original game plan of studying hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell students all the time, study hard, work hard, play hard.
Mm-hmm.
But you have a schedule. Sunday through Thursday, it's all school. Friday, Saturday, have your fun.
Mm-hmm.
But stick to it and work hard. That's why I would tell my younger self, hey man, stick to the game plan.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And why did you want to be a part of the Today I Want to Be products?
I love working with young people, especially you look at these young people you have here today. It's just, they're so intelligent. You guys are so far advanced, man. Just the computers, the knowledge, and it keeps me where I need to be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't get so high and mighty where it's like, oh, I've just done everything I need to do. And then you meet some young people like this, like, wow, I gotta go study. I gotta go
Yeah.
figure some things out because they moving, you know. But I like this type of program because it helps us identify really good students, helps us work
Mhm.
together and be a community.
Definitely, definitely. And I
Yes.
know that we actually have a couple of women, well, young girls that's here on the show as well. Specifically in your practice, are there many females in it?
No. In our group, out of 11, we have 3 females partners.
Okay.
And in most of the surgery fields, the subspecialties, it's still pretty much a good old boy network. That's changing. That's
Mhm.
changing.
Mhm.
I will say this though, they are not seeing, it's not something unusual anymore. Whereas I was in medical school, you had another resident or a fellow in the surgery is like, oh, whoa, you know, what's she doing here? You know, kind of like, it's kind of threw you off a little bit.
Mhm.
Now I think it's definitely young women, especially young women of color, have done very well. There is much more representation, which I love. And I think we need to do more though.
And one last thing with that, if there is a student who maybe doesn't have somebody in their family who's in the medical field, and I know that maybe finances can also be a hindrance in becoming
Yes.
a professional in the medical field. What would you say to that individual that says they really want to become a doctor, but like maybe they come from a poor background or something like that?
Well, I was that kid, projects, you know, single parent family, you know, we got lucky enough. My mother was very strict about
Mhm.
grades. So that kind of took care of itself. But when I got to medical school, there was definitely some financial part to it. I was like, man, this is crazy.
Mhm.
You know, they want me to take how much out in the loan? You know, man, I got a baby. And I'm like, man, I'm driving a raggedy car. I'm living in
Yeah.
this raggedy neighborhood. And the thing that worked for me was Dr. Stone, again, she was someone that came up and just made things open. And I think she's also programmed all the people beyond her to say, don't pay it back, pay it forward.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of doctors in your community, your family doctor, people you may meet, and you be honest with those to say, hey, look, you know, I really want to go into medicine, but man, I think the finance is going to be, they'll make a way.
Mm.
They'll make a way. You know, if you don't find somebody, come call me. We'll make a way.
Mhm.
And I guarantee you that I will make a way. Um,
And how do you help a person humble themselves or student humble themselves to say, okay, I need help in that area?
oh, school and life will humble you enough. Believe me, I don't have to do anything about that. When you get through that road and you're working hard, you're just beating your head against the wall, you're doing good in school, and it's like, man, okay, here comes this MCAT, that's $800, or here comes this application process fee. It's all these things coming at you. You're like, man, I don't know if I can do this.
Mhm.
You just pick up the phone and start calling people.
Mhm.
That's what the community is involved. And you know, right here, you know, hey, use
Yeah.
me as a resource. If I don't know someone near you, then it'll be me.
Definitely,
You know,
definitely.
if it's
Well,
not me, to be someone, we'll find someone to say, hey, that young person needs what they need. Write a check. Here you go.
mhm,
You
mhm.
know, whatever you have to do, that's what we're gonna have to do. But it's not about humbling yourself. It's just you'll know.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
just be open and honest. Say, hey, I need help. Don't be
Mhm.
afraid to ask.
Mhm.
That's all you got to do.
And I love that you said it's not about paying it back; it's about paying it forward. And
Oh yeah.
you are definitely doing that. If you would like to stay in contact with Dr. Long, make sure you go to that description box because his contact information is listed
Yes.
there. We definitely thank you, Dr. Long, so much for just being featured and helping us have a better understanding of a life of a doctor. I definitely want to thank Jana as well as Asha as well as Hanaya just for taking time out of your busy schedules to interview and be our co-host. I definitely believe that you young ladies, I mean, just getting to know y'all is just such a
Oh
blessing.
my
But
goodness.
it's just like the questions that you all ask and just
Yes.
your aspirations of what you want to be. I definitely hope that you remain encouraged and that you never allow somebody to discourage you from becoming anything that you want to be. You have definitely heard Dr. Long speak, and he was just telling us that, you know, of his background, and he was definitely open and honest with
Oh
Dr.
yeah.
Stone, right?
Yes.
With
Yes.
open and honest with Dr. Stone. And that's what it's about, having those conversations with people that may not even look like you, but also with people that do look like you, and
Yes.
talking to them and letting them know what you aspire to be as well. Continue to share this video now so that more people will know about Today I Want to Be. For our upcoming interviews for December, we have our real estate developer as well as our technical recruiter. If you are interested in your child or student becoming co-hosts like Jana, Asha, or Hanaya, make sure you go to that description box and click on that link right there next to the star and sign up your child or student, and they can become co-hosts as well. We definitely hope that you guys have a great remainder of the night, and we will talk to you all later. Bye-bye.